Hi everyone, this is Haley from Cruise Blog. I recently returned from my first sailing on Margaritaville at sea. Here's what my experiences were like sailing on this super cheap 2-night cruise. Let's begin. Jimmy Buffett's new cruise line, Margaritaville at Sea, sails 2-night cruises on an older refurbished ship that is very enticing for the low prices that you can find. The new cruise line has chosen to convert, refurbish, and re-theme an older vessel for its purposes of bringing guests on a quick visit to the Bahamas, and has named its first ship Paradise. This past week, I returned from my first cruise with Margaritaville at Sea, aboard their ship Paradise. This quick and cheap sailing out of West Palm Beach, Florida is new to the cruise line industry. Immediately after booking my sailing through Margaritaville at Sea's website, I received a confirmation email with a reservation number. I booked my cruise about 3 weeks before the sailing. This initial email contained minimum information about the cruise. I did not hear from the cruise line again until about 24 hours before embarkation. Sailing with Margaritaville at Sea is relatively simple, and although I was concerned about the lack of communication leading up to the voyage, I discovered that the little information that was included in the emails I received proved to be sufficient for this cruise voyage. Margaritaville at Sea currently operates only one itinerary, a 2-night sailing departing from West Palm Beach, Florida, with a stop at Grand Bahama Island. Guests enter the ship on Deck 5, and after walking the short gangplank are welcomed on board with a flower lei necklace, which is a nice touch. Guests are immediately greeted by the sight of the giant, larger-than-life flip-flop that has become one of Margaritaville at Sea's iconic symbols. I noticed many guests throughout the cruise taking pictures with this statue. Immediately after boarding, I wandered some of the lower decks and familiarized myself with the ship's layout. My initial impression of the ship is that it reflects its age, but it has a certain charm that I think guests would enjoy on a quick sailing. While Margaritaville at Sea is a brand new cruise line, the line purchased this older ship that had been previously owned. Initially, I felt the ship had a certain charm to it that highlighted its tropical fun and carefree style and aesthetic. The passenger staterooms were ready at about 2 p.m., and I went to check out my room that would be my home for the next 2 nights. Upon entering my stateroom for the first time, I noticed that the room was rather sizable. There was plenty of storage space and room for guests to spread out. The room was decorated along with the rest of the ship in a tropical style, with lots of bright and cheery colors. My least favorite aspects of the room were the bathroom and the mini fridge. Upon entering my room, I noticed that the mini fridge in the stateroom was sticking out from the wall. Upon further inspection, I found the fridge to be broken, not operating, covered in rust, and showing signs of potential mold. The bathroom offered plenty of counter space, which was nice, and allowed guests plenty of room to unpack. However, the shower was a curtain that did not reach to the floor. I discovered that after taking one shower, the entire floor of the bathroom was effectively covered in water. I noticed that the walls of the stateroom appeared to be rather thin. For guests who have trouble sleeping due to loud noises, I would recommend packing a pair of earplugs for this sailing. Something interesting that I noticed was that this ship seemed to never rock or sway. I almost never felt the ship moving, which was nice, and I think would be helpful for guests who experience motion sickness. The ship offers several main forms of entertainment on board: Tales from Margaritaville, Jimmy's ship show, a comedy act, a dueling piano type show, and 2 sail-away parties. I was able to experience all of the main entertainment options on board. The sail-away party on the first day was at about 4:30 p.m. This was also when the ship began, you guessed it, to sail away from West Palm Beach. The sail-away party occurred on the main pool deck, and I was pleasantly surprised by just how many people participated and joined in. If prospective guests choose to sail with Margaritaville at Sea, I highly recommend attending the sail-away party on the first day. The ship Margaritaville at Sea Paradise has 5 dining locations: the buffet, called the Port of Indecision, the main dining room, called Finn's, along with 3 specialty dining locations: Frank and Lola's Pizzeria, 5 O'Clock Somewhere Bar and Grill, and the JWB Prime Steakhouse. While on this cruise, I ate at the main dining room for both dinners each night, and the buffet for both breakfast and lunch both days of the cruise. For dinner at this main dining room, each guest is able to choose a starter, a super salad, a main entree, and a dessert. The buffet food I felt lacked a variety of option, but what was available was all right, and it was about the type of food offered at a continental hotel breakfast. Overall, I felt that the food was relatively average. I think guests who choose to sail on this cruise line will be sure to find food that they like that fits their preferences. I would not describe the food as outstanding. However, I think the food overall is satisfactory. Margaritaville at Sea advertises that their regularly sailed itinerary is a day in the Bahamas. Margaritaville at Sea docks at Grand Bahama Island at the Freeport Cruise Port. This port is located about 20 minutes by car from the main town of Freeport. There is no beach access within walking distance at this port, and passengers had to either book an excursion or take a taxi in order to reach the main town area or the beach. This port is not located near any major attractions, and guests who wish to visit a beach or town will need to do some planning beforehand. The ship docked at about 7 a.m., and we left to make our return to Florida at about 4 p.m. The ship has 2 pool areas on board, the main pool located on deck 11, and an adults-only pool located at the front of the ship, also on deck 11. There are also 2 hot tubs in the adult-only area. Something I quickly noticed about this ship is that there was an abundance of lounge spaces on board. This is a ship where guests will not struggle to find an available lounge chair. Nearly every deck and area on board had different types of comfortable chairs for guests to sit. One of my favorite and relaxing spots was inside the spa area on board. This area was very quiet and offered great lounge spot during the rainy afternoon sailing back to Florida. There was a unique space on board called the Hangout. This venue, located on deck 14, consists of a lot of arcade games and seating. On my voyage, I noticed that not many people utilized this space and that it was often very open and uncrowded. Margaritaville at Sea reflects a sunny and carefree environment. My personal opinion is that this cruise line would make a great option for South Florida locals. I would caution guests about flying in for this cruise. Unless a prospective guest is a large fan of Mr. Jimmy Buffett or simply wants to experience this cruise line, it is in my personal opinion that guests will be able to make their dollars stretch farther on more established cruise lines within the Bahamas and Caribbean, such as Royal Caribbean or Norwegian Cruise Line. This cruise at the very start appears to be cheap. However, once port taxes, fees, gratuities, and the fuel surcharge are added to the final bill, this voyage will cost guests more than what it appears at the onset. This cruise line sailing could make for a great, inexpensive option for a group of friends or a couple looking for a quick getaway out of South Florida. However, this line did not offer much for children or teens in terms of structured activities. There was a designated kids area and teen room on board. However, both were very basic and mostly consisted of just chairs, tables, and board games. The ship definitely reflects its age. However, given the proper expectations, this ship has a certain charm and appeal. This ship could be a lot of fun for a group of friends. The environment of the vessel seemed to cater to a younger adult crowd and married couples. Margaritaville at Sea advertises their sailings as a 2-night, 3-day experience. However, after embarking on this cruise, I can say that is unfortunately a bit of a stretch. Guests are allowed to board at around 1 p.m. on the day of embarkation, giving guests about a half day on board for their first day. On the final day and the day of disembarkation, guests are woken at about 7:30 a.m. by an intercom message encouraging guests to disembark. On the final day, guests must be fully out of their staterooms no later than 9:30 a.m. With these timeframes factored in, it leaves guests about 1.5 days on board and 2 nights. This ship, although small, has many spaces that could be creatively used. However, with this cruise line being so new, it appears that they have not yet decided how best to use their space on board. Many of the rooms were filled with only chairs or sitting areas, and because of this, it is very easy to see everything on Paradise in just 2 days. In this day and age of cruise travel, we are lucky that there are so many cruise lines and ships to fit every traveler's style and budget. Margaritaville at Sea may be exactly what some travelers are looking for, while it may not satisfy others. This cruise line is unique in its offerings, including its itinerary. No other cruise line offers a 2-night sailing to and from West Palm Beach, Florida to the Bahamas, and fans of Jimmy Buffett are sure to find something they enjoy on board this floating paradise. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel so that you can see more of our cruise travel content. Until next time, smooth sailings.